Hello everyone, my name is Rohaan and I'm a senior accounting major, as well as an international student from Pakistan, and I absolutely love and adore movies. And welcome to my segment called What's on TV. Watch by yourself, watch with your friends, watch with your family, and these are also movies that, if you're having a bad day, they're going to lift you up. And when I think of fall movies, the first movie I think of is Dead Poets Society. It's an absolute classic. It has everything. And since I went to a boarding school, I really connect with this movie, especially more so. And it's got Robin Williams in it, so, it's automatically good. And it's set at a private school, and it's a very prestigious private school as well. And Robin Williams, he is not your run-of-the-mill teacher. And he tells his students to dream, and to dream big. He tells his students carpe diem, which means seize the day. He says, don't let your lives be ordinary. Make your lives extraordinary. And his students really connect to that. And the other professors at the school, especially the principal, they don't like that. And one of the students, he comes across a book in which it's transcribed Dead Poets Society, and the initials of John Keating, who is a professor played by Robin Williams. And so the students ask him about the Dead Poets Society, and then they form their own Dead Poets Society, and they hold meetings inside a little cave that they found in the woods next to their boarding school. And they do poetry, they write poetry, they recite poetry, they enact plays, which one of the main characters, he acts in a play despite his father wanting him to be a corporate slave, essentially, to put it very nicely. And his father, I don't know if you guys know Red Foreman from that 70s show. Red Foreman plays Neil's father. So there's a little Easter egg for you. And so, Dead Poets, you can't go wrong with Dead Poets Society. I gave it a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and it's just a film that brings me and my friends a lot of joy. And it's a film that, even though I don't like rewatching films, it's a film I try to watch every single year around this time. Continuing with the theme of teachers being really cool and excellent, we have School of Rock, which, again, a staple of our childhoods, at least it was mine, and it's just a really feel-good movie. Jack Black is absolutely fantastic in that, and the movie would not have been written had it not been for Jack Black, because he was the one they had in mind to play Dewey, and the scriptwriters, they told Entertainment Weekly in 2003 that they'd been impressed by Jack Black's performance in the movie called Orange County. I've never seen the movie, but apparently he was good enough for the role of Dewey, the main teacher in School of Rock. And the studio exec said, and the scriptwriter said, I just had this image in my head of him jamming, Jack Black, jamming with a bunch of little kids, and while I was kind of afraid of what the Paramount version of that would be, I couldn't shake the idea. And I probably would have thrown the script away. It was so inspired by just knowing him that I wouldn't want to see anyone else do it. And so Jack Black's influence was that cool that they wanted him and only him, and otherwise there would have been no movie. And Richard Linklater, the director, he originally did not want to direct the movie because he thought it was kind of cheesy, but I'm honestly very glad that he did, because only Richard Linklater could direct a movie like that. And if you don't know who that is, he has directed movies he directed the Hitman film that came out on Netflix with Glenn Powell, and he's also directed Dazed and Confused, which is an absolute teen classic, and he's also directed arguably one of the greatest trilogies of all time in the Before trilogy, which you guys should definitely check out if you can. And so, School of Rock, it's just, again, this teacher he's a music teacher, and his roommate gets a call back from a substitute teaching job, and Jack Black's character Dewey, who is unemployed and his band has kicked him out, he takes the job under the name of his roommate, and he just scams his way into being a teacher at the school, and he's teaching these little kids, and he's supposed to be teaching them like math, science, English, but after like the first few classes of him like trying to absolutely wing it rather unsuccessfully, he starts talking about music, and then the class basically formed their own impromptu choir. They do a show, which is all completely illegal, by the way, because he's in charge of minors and he has them in his van, which sounds very sketchy. But the movie is absolutely fantastic. There's nothing wrong about it, and the kids, the actors, they played their own instruments. So all the kids are musically talented. So they're not just, pretending to play guitar. They're actually doing that. And it also gave actresses like Miranda Cosgrove their big break, who was a child actor then. And it's just a fantastic movie in the sense that it's this guy who's vibing with these kids, and the kids love him. He loves the kids. They're all they're communicating through music. They're all breaking the rules, but they're all doing it together. Nobody's being a snitch. And they do this big performance at the end against all odds, against the principal, against the parents, and at the end, and I'm not gonna try to spoil the movie, but it ends really nicely in the end for the kids as well as Jack Black's character. For Good Will Hunting for Best Supporting Actor. And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were best friends, and they initially had trouble getting the script approved by big studio execs. And funnily enough, Harvey Weinstein, he and his corporation, the Harvey Weinstein Corporation, they were the only ones who picked up the script, and Harvey Weinstein and the studio execs, they loved the script. They only had one problem though. Harvey Weinstein told Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, yeah, the script is all good, but on page 60, there's an intimate scene between Will's character and his best friend, who's also basically his brother. What's that about? And Matt Damon laughed and said, that was our litmus test to see if all the other studio execs, they'd read the script or not. And Harvey Weinstein was the only one who got back to them. And that's how they knew that the movie was going to go through. And there's a really cool picture of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck at the Oscars in 1997, and they have these old telephones, telephones as big as your arm, and they're calling their moms. Even in the acceptance speech for best screenplay, they both went up and said, it was a short speech. They thanked everybody. They thanked Harvey Weinstein. They thanked Gus Van Sant, and then they said, we're gonna go call our moms to let them know we won. And I think that's one of the best Oscar moments of all time, if not one of the sweetest. And the phrase, it's a bit of an old phrase now. If this were 10-15 years ago, everybody would have known this, but the phrase, how do you like them apples? It comes from this movie. Because Will, he's in this bar with his friends, and he goes and talks to this girl, Skylar, with whom he ends up. And Skylar is a British student from England, and she's studying at Harvard. And this guy is trying to impress Skylar, and this guy's basically an airhead, and he's reciting something that he learned from a book that Will knows exactly what he's talking about. And then while they're leaving, Will and his friends, he taps on the window, and he says to this guy, you like apples? He goes, what? You like apples? And then he takes Skylar's number on a piece of paper, and he slaps it on the window and says, how do you like them apples? That's where that phrase comes from. So, Good Will Hunting, it's about this janitor who is an absolute math genius, but he doesn't want to apply himself because he thinks everything is too easy. And he has a lot of emotional trauma. And this professor, played by Alexander Skarsgård, who is the father of Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise in It, he plays this professor who writes this equation on the board in one of the hallways in MIT. And Will, who's a janitor in MIT, he just casually solves the whole thing. And then Robin Williams' character, who's a professor, he really helps Will get through his emotional trauma, and he helps him realize that life isn't just for throwing away, drinking beer with his friends, chilling all day, especially when you have potential like Will's. And it's also not to be a guy who only does math and, just does it for the advancement of the field. He needs to think of himself as a human being, and he needs to let himself feel and love. And so it also gave us one of the best ending lines of a film, in which Robin Williams goes, well, I don't think I can say it on the radio, but if you know, you know. And the line before that is, I had to go see about a girl. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. So go watch this movie. It's absolutely fantastic. Fiend and Letterboxd enthusiast, I will give you 4 movies for my first segment, and because Letterboxd does a top 4 favorites, and I'll probably talk about my top 4 favorites in another episode, but for now, and although this isn't in my top 4, this is arguably the greatest romance movie of all time. If not romance movie specifically, definitely the greatest rom-com of all time. And it poses the question, can men and women really be friends? And Harry Burns, played by Billy Crystal, the guy who's hosted the Oscars the most time, by the way, fun little fact for you there. Harry Burns, he doesn't think that men and women can be friends. And Sally Albright, played by Meg Ryan, thinks that they can. And these two meet when they're both going to New York City in 1977, and they don't really talk, and then after a few years they meet again. They become friends, and they're very close, and they don't realize that they essentially have feelings for each other. And they go on different dates with different people. They go on a double date with their friends, and the friends that they wanted to end up with, it didn't happen. It was the opposite. And so Harry and Sally were still single. And it follows them going through different relationships, them consoling each other when said relationships don't work out. And the whole aesthetic of this movie is just so warm. It's set in New York City, which is my favorite place for a movie to be set. It's set in the fall, mainly. And the fashion in the movie is absolutely iconic. There's a picture of Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan as Harry and Sally, and Billy Crystal is in this white turtleneck with like these clean white shoes and very nice jeans, and Meg Ryan is in this red baggy cashmere looking sweater, and it's just an absolute classic. Today we're talking about classics, if you couldn't tell. It's absolutely iconic. It just gives you this warm and fuzzy feeling inside, especially the ending. It's a bit of a roller coaster, but in the best way possible. It takes you from one bounce of an emotion to another one, but at the end it gives you the message that everything's going to be just fine. You just got to try a little bit, and you just got to put yourself out there and take a leap of faith, see where that takes you, because that's what Harry did with Sally in the end. And it's perfect, honestly. It's perfect in general, but especially in a fall day. Watch it with a significant other, watch it with a close friend, watch it with a loved one, watch it by yourself. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, and I suggest have a hot drink while you watch this movie. Dim the lights and just enjoy yourself, because this will make you forget about everything else, and it'll keep you engaged the entire time. And it's just watch it. It's fantastic.